You are in Where's Huddle with me, Bram, no Maxime or Marcus today, but I am fired up to announce that rejoining me after way too long, a former writer for the Las Vegas Review Journal, where he's covered the Raiders, the Aces, the Golden Knights in combat sports, the reigning Golden State beat writer for the San Francisco Chronicle, who attends every single practice, press conference, shoot around a game, and a guy who I've been desperately encouraging to drop an F bomb on this show, Mr. Sam Gordon. What's going on, Sam?
Bram, how you doing? Great to see you. It's been a minute, but I appreciate you having me back on the show.
I figured really the best chance of you maybe saying fuck would be right after this. Like maybe I'd catch an FU or something. So I'm 0 for 1 so far, but we'll see. We'll see how we get there.
Let's see what
Um,
happens. Yeah, you never know.
it's the beginning. It's the beginning of the
Yeah.
show. Uh, Sam, let's get three questions out of the way right up front. All right. So we're recording this right after what felt like a gut punch loss, a bad one. Unfortunately, I, I'm having trouble even completing the sentences. I'll tell you, you're catching me in a very emotionally unstable place. I genuinely was afraid of that Clippers game. And then the way that it played out has hit me in a deep neurosis. So we're going to address it quickly, right? And then we'll get into more detail. But here's the three things I need your response from right in the beginning. Number one, how's Jimmy? Right? He plays 48 minutes. He was very clearly limited at the end of that game. I'm hearing things like leg contusion, but I'm not getting any real defined injury updates. So what's going on, man? Is he playing tomorrow? What's the update?
Playing tomorrow, and from what I'm hearing, we'll be good to go.
Okay,
Ready
excellent.
to go. Yep.
All right. Two, let me start it this way. From what I can tell, the fan base's vibe has been shook a little bit. We're still on board. It's not like we're not going to watch tomorrow, but we're nowhere near as arrogant as we were when the ball was tipped against the Clippers. If you'd asked anyone before that game, definite contender. Now people are, I don't know, a little bit more concerned. So how did the team feel after that game? Did it seem like they were shook at all, or are they just as resolute?
Uh, Disappointed and determined, right? Two things can be true at once. You can be disappointed about losing a playoff level game against the Los Angeles Clippers and also trust in the infrastructure and the experience and the greatness that they have on their team. And if they are who they hope to be, you beat the Memphis Grizzlies on Tuesday, and it's as simple as that. So I think both those things can exist at the same time. And with the experience, with the veteran ball club that they have, uh, moving on and turning the page.
Giving you a glimpse into my craziness. So you can probably tell from my background, I'm on pseudo vacation. I'm in Hawaii, literally. We get here on Sunday, and so I watch the game on the flight. And this really like jittery, terrible streaming experience is like watching a slideshow of the game instead of an actual stream of the game. But I get the gist of it and watch the loss. And then now I'm out here with family members. I'm looking at, the type of vistas that happen in Hawaii, dude. And I'm out here with my family, with my dad, who I never get to spend this kind of time with. And we're looking at this incredible view. And he leans over and asks me, like, what do you think? And what he's asking me about is, I mean, same, we're in fucking Hawaii. He's asking me about Hawaii. And my response was, I think that foul they called and gave Harden two shots on was bullshit. That was clearly an alley oop. And so, like, I haven't moved on at all. But I tell you that now because your answer to this question is going to mean a lot to me. It's going to help me hopefully sleep better tonight. The question is this: has this changed your perception of the team at all? You're with these guys every day. You've watched them throughout the year. You've watched what Jimmy has done. You know what we were expecting last night, but you also watched the loss. So, like, where do you stand with these guys now? Did you learn anything new or no? It's just another game.
Um, that's a good question. I don't think the loss changed my perspective at all. It was, I think, a coin flip game, playoff level game where the stars were stars. It was back and forth. It was never in the second half down the stretch more than a couple possessions, and the Clippers made a couple more plays. I think it was a coin flip game, and the Clippers stars, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Ivica Zubats, a little better than Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green for as great as they play, right? I mean, it was margins and coin flip game where the plays went the Clippers' way. I always kind of had the sense or thought seeing Jimmy Butler assimilate and adjust and the Warriors adjust and the rhythm that they developed that, yeah, uphill battle, but Warriors have a puncher's chance. You take a look at this West, A lot of parity after Oklahoma City, a styles make fights kind of situation when you get into the postseason. It's still styles make fights.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Warriors didn't do themselves any favors by having to play an extra game or potentially two extra games and limiting that rest. But you take a look at the bracket and how things shake out. Houston, I mean, there's not going to be any great match. Like the playoffs are hard. There's not
Yeah.
going to be any perfect matchups, but Houston's a matchup if the Warriors get there, right? Provided they
Right.
take care of business against the Grizzlies, that they feel, I think, relatively comfortable with, all things considered. So
Yeah.
you take it one. Well, obviously the Warriors are in a position, not to go coach speak, but they're in a position they have to take it one game at a time, and then you take it one game, one series at a time. After that, puncher's chance, sure. Also, could this thing end relatively soon? Yeah, you've put themselves in a position where now you're in single games, shooting variance. You never know. So I think you talk about the Clippers loss. I think the more damning loss, if you will, or the more the more devastating loss was the one to the Spurs. I don't think there's
Yeah.
any shame losing a coin flip game to the Clippers, where
Yeah.
against Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and Zubats when they playing at the A level, right? There's not. I mean, that game was decided on the margins, but as a 17 and a half point favorite against the Spurs, down Victor Wembanyama, down De'Aaron Fox, they too were playing the second night of a back to back. That was the one that they kind of had to have, and they wouldn't be in this position. So yeah, perspective hasn't necessarily changed, but the Warriors are now in a position where this is harder than it would have had to be if they would have taken care of business. And look, maybe that's what it all comes down to. And this, we'll see. That's going to decide itself in between the lines.
Of course, you're right. And one of the frustrating things I was thinking that as the fourth quarter played out is that if they had played with half of the intensity that they were showing against the Clippers throughout in any of the quarters, quarter 1 through 4 or the overtime, if they had displayed half that intensity in that fourth quarter against San Antonio, that Clipper game would have meant nothing. It would have meant absolutely nothing. But here we are. Good transition. All right, so glass half full. You'll recognize this when we look back. You give you something you like, something you don't. When you look back at that Clippers game, what do you pull out of it? Are there any lessons?
Ooh, I mean, turnovers, rebounding. I mean, those things are super important. I mean, they just are. Not to be, not to go cliche or anything, but Warriors had 16 turnovers, led to 20 points, right? I mean,
Yep.
big spots. Steph Curry had 8 turnovers. It was the first thing he talked about at his post-game press conference was the turnovers. And,
Mhm.
knowing that he can't commit that many turnovers in a game of that magnitude. And then it's just hard getting out rebounded by 17, getting crushed on the glass like that. The Warriors, with their small ball lineups, have generally been pretty good rebounding, right? They finished top 10 this year and dipped a little bit to 13th since Jimmy Butler got here, but still, all in all, they out rebounded the much bigger Memphis Grizzlies, a couple weeks ago, right? This is a team
Yep.
that can get up for challenges on the glass and has to, right?
Yep.
I mean, they have to. This is clearly the look that they're going with. There's, of course, situations and lineup combinations that skew more rebounding and skew bigger, but they have leaned into the small ball lineup. I don't see that changing anytime soon, other than,
Right.
again, different units working in different things. They have to be better on the glass. Doesn't mean you have to win by 15 every night, but they can't get destroyed like that,
Sure.
by 17. And again, again, not to say that we necessarily learn this, but it just reflects, even with Jimmy Butler, how, the margins, right? As Steph Curry talked about post game, the margins. Playoffs are about margins. Championships are certainly about margins. And are the Warriors good enough to overcome misexecution in the margins? They weren't
Right.
against the Clippers. We'll see how that how that translates into Tuesday, into potentially Friday, or again potentially Sunday if the Warriors take care of business. Well, either way, if they get into a series Sunday and then moving forward in a 7-game series.
Let me, I've got two possible optimistic takes on, it, right? But I'm a homer. I'm desperate. I'm squinting as hard as I can, trying to pull some kind of positive things out of this. So let me run them by you. You tell me how crazy I am. All right. Here's the first glass half full thing I pulled. No one has come out and said it. But if I'm listening between the lines on a lot of the NBA podcasts I've been perusing recently, is there's a suggestion that Jimmy didn't have another step, that there wasn't another playoff Jimmy thing coming, that he wasn't being deferential, that he may have not been as quick, and that we're looking at an older guy. Glass half full. Last night showed us bullshit. There is an entire another gear. He is 100% still capable of leaping a level, and that playoff Jimmy is a very real thing. Am I being crazy to say that?
No, I mean, you saw the game yesterday, right? And 23-8 since they got Jimmy Butler. He dialed up in other big spots too. Again, that Memphis game, right? Steph Curry, of course, had 52 points. But that was a huge game at the time in the structure of their season. And Jimmy Butler was huge with 27 points. And
Right.
down the stretch of that game, right? Worked on the ball a lot, ran offense, executed offense. Even if you're not necessarily getting the high volume production, there's a know-how that he has. What did Steve Kerr say yesterday? He's an alpha. There's a
Yeah.
certain feeling that he gives teams late in games. Doesn't mean you're going to come through every single time, but it means they put themselves in the best position. And he 30 points, 9 assists, really set a tone and made sure the Warriors were right there in that game. Steph Curry didn't have the greatest of first halves yesterday. Picked up a couple fouls, took him a second to find his rhythm, but because of how Jimmy Butler sensed what that rhythm of the game felt like, was able to do his thing in the first half, and obviously pressed it a bit in the second half too. So we'll see what kind of harmony Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler are able to find against Memphis moving forward, and how they're able to kind of blend their styles
Yeah.
and their game and whatnot. So it's been great up to this point, and you would expect more volume scoring from both of them if there's going to be a deep playoff run for sure.
Here's the next one I got. All right. And this falls into the styles makes fights kind of thing. I've convinced myself, and they got to win the Memphis game. Of course. I mean, of course they do. But if they do, I would prefer play Houston than the Lakers. Not that Houston isn't a crazy, talented, young, exciting team. Not that, they don't have appropriate fear and respect for them. But when I'm comparing the two, I've got to believe in our talent against either. And I like that we have an experience hedge on Houston. That team hasn't done anything yet. And so we've got to match up on one. I'm fine with it. Having lost to the Clippers, now we've got a path against Houston. Am I crazy to say that? Or, do our styles match up better with the Rockets than they do with the Lakers?
I think you're on point. I think you're on point, right? Again, the Warriors, there's an understanding that Houston's tough, but there again, you said it, the experience factor, and Houston has had some issues late game offense, late game half court offense. Game slows down. Can they create offense? Can they get good looks? Do they have a closer? Right? Those things are going to settle themselves in between the lines. But we know, or kind of the Warriors have a blueprint. In late games, right? Again, 23-8. They didn't get it done Sunday, but for the most part, where your offense is coming from. You know who your creators are, and you're able to get good shots. The Warriors got great shots against the Clippers. They had a good offensive game, right? Like Clippers are an elite defense. The Warriors had a really, really good offensive game. They can beat really good defenses with great performances. We saw that on Sunday. They've beaten the Rockets multiple times this season. Again, not this past Sunday, but beat them in Houston earlier this year. They beat them again in December a couple times
Right.
without Stephen Curry. And then the game before the All-Star break in Houston off of a back-to-back beat them. So, of course, we understand playoffs are different, all those things, matchups, schemes, all that. But you mentioned it. Experience, late game execution. It hasn't always been perfect for the Warriors, but the sense is that they would feel like they have an edge there. And again, tough matchup, a lot of athletes, a lot of wings, but the experience edge goes to the Warriors.
Sam, here's the one I'm worried about. All right. Here's the don't. So from what I can tell, what was happening yesterday afternoon, it was a playoff rotation. He shortened it up. Jimmy played
Yeah,
48 minutes. Steph was in like
yeah.
the mid to high 30. I mean, they were trying to win. And the thing I don't like that intimidated me a little bit is that when Kerr made that adjustment, what he decided to do is not play JK at all. Not at all. He didn't get one fucking minute. And so I'm a little bit worried about this guy who I generally like and who apparently wants more than 40 million a year going into next offseason, that they've looked and have decided the playoff rotation maybe doesn't include him. Am I being dramatic with that? Is it just a matchup thing? What's the takeaway from JK not playing yesterday?
Takeaway is first, again, I mean, it's a tough spot for him, right? It's a very, very tough spot for him. Let's get that out of the way right now. He was
Yeah.
rolling on an individual level, was playing some of the best basketball of his career, right?
Yep.
Let's contextualize all this. He's playing some
Yeah.
of the best basketball of his career. He's featured offensively. He's the rhythm of the offense. He's attacking matchups. The ball is moving. Everything is in flow. He's averaging 6 game stretch, averaging 24-8.
Yep.
Great shooting splits. Eye test matches the statistics, getting the kind of buckets that are in rhythm and encourage the flow of Golden State's offense. Then against the Grizzlies, no less, sprains his ankle. The severe
Yeah.
sprain keeps him out
Yeah.
30 games. And while that happens, the Warriors find their identity with Jimmy Butler. And it changes the geometry of the team. It changes the spacing. Everything changes, right? Draymond Green moves to center. Jimmy Butler's playing the 4 spot. You have to find a balance, these lineups, that best two-way lineups that maximize Butler, Curry, Green, and then by and large the Warriors as a collective, right?
Yep.
And there's a big sample size, or not necessarily big, because Kuminga's he's only been back for a month. But clearly a big enough sample size going into Sunday's game where you take a look at some of the advanced numbers, the lineup combinations, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler together, they're just not favorable.
Right.
And one of the things you point to is a lack of spacing, right? Like, guys certainly that are can make 3-point shots, right? They will make threes, but you're not, those are shots that defenses more often than not are going to live with. You're going to try and take away the paint, crowd the paint, and Jimmy Butler needs the paint to work. That's
Right.
where he's at his best, drawing fouls, facilitating from the post, finding cutters, finding shooters, getting into the lane, making stuff happen. Can't have a clogged up lane. So it's really just matchups and fit and combinations, and it's very unfortunate situation for Kuminga to have to deal with going into a really big spot against the Clippers. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green are going to play huge minutes in these big, huge games, right? I mean, you saw it, you touched on it, Bram, right? Like you saw it on Sunday. That's going to persist in the playoffs. And it's just, again, a tough spot for Kuminga to be in. I mean, that going, again, if the Warriors win Tuesday, set up a matchup with the
Right.
Rockets. He's played the Rockets really well. The Rockets
Right.
are long, athletic, speed, power, situationally might be a role. You would envision that's a series that might make for some sense for him. I still think, I mean, in order for the Warriors to reach their ceiling, Curry's talked about it after the Lakers win, where Kuminga maybe had his best game of the season. Did
Right.
every 18, 9, 4 assists, guarded everybody across the perimeter. You saw the potential fit. That style of game maximized his
Right.
strengths, and he played to his strengths, and he elevated the Warriors. Those situations might still be out there. It's just that in a big spot in a Sunday game, the coaching staff made a decision, and the decision for the rotation didn't include Kuminga. So, got to see how he responds moving forward. Again, very, very tough spot, but no reason he can't make an impact in the postseason situationally. And if he does that, get back in the rotation, earn those minutes, and continue to deliver like he has at times this season.
I think I think it's really smart that you added that context because I think it gives you the full picture of the story and how frustrating it would be for him. And I'll tell you what, if I'm JK and I do want a max contract, I mean that's been the suggestion, then this is all an opportunity to put things on tape to make sure that when you start that over. If I'm the Warriors, I'm not paying him anything this offseason. I let him at the restricted free agency, go find out what your market is. And if I'm right about that, what he's doing over this next month or so, hopefully longer, is it's an audition tape. He's getting his money up, and one of the things that he'll be able to address is, well, what's your mentality? How mature are you with this? And if he can shake this Clipper game off, have it mean nothing. If he's just
Yeah,
ready to play whenever it is that they want him, that could translate into a pretty big fucking payday for him. And so I guess we'll see. We'll see how it ultimately plays. I've got a ton of Memphis questions for you, a ton. But
sure.
before I
Let's
get
do it.
into them, I got to do a quick word from our sponsor and then nothing but Memphis questions. Here we go. Huddle members. Are you playing Underdog? Underdog just became one of the best places to make picks during the basketball playoffs with their extender promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Underdog is a leading place to make all of your sports picks, and you can play now in your state, including Golden State of California. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog, and you could be next. To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on a number of stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, and so much more. Once your picks feel good, you can play for as little as $1. And if you get them all right, you could turn that dollar into 1,000. Sam, I love this. I'm doing it too much. I love sports anyways, man. But any kind of form of like little competition gets me immediately fired up. And the setup of it is so easy. You don't have to know how to gamble at all. You don't need to know lines. You don't need to over-unders. None of that shit. You just need to know your player and what you think they'll do. So I'll give you an example. Steph Curry's number against Memphis is 28.5. I think I'm going to go over. I'm nervous. That's a high number too. Like they clearly know who the fuck Steph is, but huge game. Almost feels like a must win. It's a legacy kind of statement. So I'm taking the over on 28.5. Something tells me that as the Chronicles beat writer, you probably can't bet on the outcome of any of their points per game. So I won't ask you. Instead, I'll tell you download the Underdog app. Sign up with promo code WHP as a Warriors Huddle podcast to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code WHP. Please use it, you guys. Please just go in there. You don't even have to make a bet. Just put in the WHP because it'll really help us. Also, make sure that you are 18 years or older, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona and Massachusetts. And you have to be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See underdogfantasy.com/web/extend.html for details. If you're concerned with your play for any reason, call 1-800-GAMBLER or www. You can go to there, www.ncpgambling.org. And in New York, you can call the 24/7 Hope line at 187-HOPE New York or text HOPE NY. Sam, all right, Memphis. And be gentle with me. I told you I'm a little weird now. I really needed that Clipper win. So try to hedge towards optimism. Here's my first random question. So Memphis is one of those teams that did the coach change. They fired Jenkins kind of late in the year. Does that factor in at all for this matchup? Is it motivation for Memphis? Is it circle the wagons? We're in a foxhole together. Is it chaos? I mean, obviously this is conjecture. You're not reporting. You're not inside their huddle. But when you hear that's happened, that they've lost the coach, advantage or disadvantage for Memphis in the playing game?
I mean, I can't imagine I can't imagine it's great, right? Like just doesn't necessarily bode well. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. That being said, look, it's a single game situation. Right. Anything can happen. They make 25 threes. That's on the table. Who knows, right? So, but yeah, I mean, the fact that happened tells you that Memphis wasn't having the season that they wanted to have. The Warriors went in there, and I thought the Grizzlies played well in that game, but in a kind of got to have it spot because Memphis was in the exact same race that the Warriors were in, right? Mm-hmm. They lost that game. They were in a similar game against the Timberwolves to stay out of the play-in. They lost that game, and then they lost to Denver in another really big game. So how much of a difference has it made? I know, part of Taylor Jenkins was losing the teams above 500 when he was coaching and, lost his job as a result. That hasn't necessarily corrected itself. So we'll see what happens, right? Again, one game situation, anything can happen, but you would think that where the Warriors are at, from that standpoint, with their cohesiveness, with their experience, not having to travel, look, I don't know. Maybe it's worth something, maybe not, but, it is what it is, I guess.
Sam, remind me never to use you as a shoulder to cry on. We're 2 seconds removed from me telling you, look, be gentle with me. I'm very fragile right now. And you throw out, look, they can hit 25 threes in this fucking game. That's exactly what I don't need. I'm now not going to sleep at all. Most important Warrior. Right? I mean, we'll see how it plays out. But when you look at the matchup, who do you think is the most important Warrior going into the game on Tuesday?
That's tough. I mean, obviously Steph Curry is important in every game. He had 52 points, but you can make the case Jimmy Butler with just his big game experience playing games, his ability to control pace. He guarded up against Zach Edey, did a steady to really solid team defensive effort, or good enough team defensive effort to win that game in Memphis a couple weeks ago, while also delivering 27 points. And I think, him on the ball, his playmaking can help activate Curry down the stretch of games too. Maybe they find that synergy that wasn't there Sunday down the stretch, but has been there down the stretch in previous close games, kind of like that Memphis game where Curry had 52 points and Butler was at the controls down the stretch, and they kind of worked in tandem with Butler on the ball to help close, and then Curry hitting a couple of big shots down the stretch too. So, I mean, that's why you go and get a guy like Jimmy Butler for foxhole situations, and the Warriors are in the foxhole, and he's going to have to be huge in anything that they do.
I'm secretly hoping this is going to become the player X game, like the Pods game, the Moody game. Somebody has
Yeah,
some unbelievable performance, something where we didn't see coming. Some 30 spot from a player that we didn't think capable of it, and then we forever look back and like, oh, do you remember when whoever went off when J.K. after not playing against the Clippers at all came in and had a 25 spot in a must win game against Memphis. Other side to that coin, do you look at the Grizzlies? Is there a player who you think their performance is the most important for the outcome? I mean, is it
yeah.
Ja? Is it that easy? Yeah.
I would say Jaren Jackson Jr. Right? Obviously, Ja. We know what he does for their offense. Warriors had a really hard time containing him last time, and again, point of attack defense has been an issue at various junctures of the season. Been really good from a team standpoint with Jimmy Butler, but the margins are thin, and playoffs are a little different. And you can target certain defenders and all those things. It's paramount that the Warriors. I mean, star players are star players. They're going to do what they do offensively, but you got to maximize the resistance or make it difficult or challenging. And Morant had a really big game last time. So obviously there's going to be a focus on trying to keep him out of the paint, preventing him from finishing at the rim, spraying out passes to shooters. But more importantly, Jaren Jackson Jr. anchors their defense. It's not a great defensive team. It's a defensive team that's been middling,
Good call.
bottom half of the league since the All-Star break, and they just lost Jalen Wells took a nasty fall and hurt his wrist. He's not going to be available, and he was their primary defender on Steph Curry. So they're not necessarily great at point of attack. Even with Jalen Wells, they struggled at point of attack. We saw what Curry did. That was a defense that could get mixed up with his movement, with Jimmy Butler's control and patience, and with ball movement and with shot making. The Grizzlies really had no answers, except when Jackson is out there, he fouled out of that game. He wasn't in there in crucial
Yeah.
stretches. The Warriors were able to build that lead with him on the bench, and then he wasn't on the floor deciding that game. So he cleans up a lot of with his, similar to Draymond Green, right? Like he cleans up things and it works in conjunction with everybody out there on the perimeter. Not to mention he's also, a 37%, 38% three-point shooter, can put the ball on the deck, and gave him 22 a game this year. So great two-way player in the NBA, and they're going to need his defense and his offense against the Warriors on Tuesday night.
This series has always been kind of chippy. These teams seemingly don't like each other. It's pretty physical. The whole grit
Yeah.
and grind mentality of Memphis. All right. So with that in mind, over under 1.5. Do you take the over under on technicals? What do you think?
Oh,
I take the over.
um,
I think we're gonna get one kind of early, like some unnecessarily hard fouls, like some bullshit things. I definitely take the over. What do you
I
got?
mean, playoff basketball, right? I mean, that's essentially what the Warriors are in. So I
Uh-huh.
can see that happening. I can see that happening. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, almost got you to make a prediction. I was right there, and
uh,
then you seized it back. I'm counting that as an over. I'm gonna take that as an over from you. All right. Biggest reason Golden State can lose this game.
if they get crushed on the glass again and give up second chance points and aren't able to to push the pace and get out there and set their offense the way they want to, that was a huge factor in the game on Sunday. And the Warriors, if they want to make a deep playoff run, are going to have to rebound. They won the rebounding matchup against the Grizzlies that last game, and again, it was kind of a shootout. That's the way the game played out down the stretch, but they were able to really set tempo, use their pace, and Memphis likes to play fast, but so do the Warriors when they're able to, and
Yep.
their speed was effective against Memphis's bigs and making Zach Edey guard in space and getting into their offense quickly with rhythm and passes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's I think a huge thing for the Warriors, and we'll see what they're able to what they're able to do in that regard. But they're going to have to clean the glass in order to get into their offense the way that they want to. And it's a big team. It's a big physical team. Zach Edey had, I think, 16 rebounds last game, and they were second in the league in rebounding. So yeah.
Zach Edey had a play in that last matchup where he dunked without jumping, and I've always hated that. There's something that's like in particularly unathletic about the gigantic man dunking without having his feet leave the floor. But I got another over under for it. All right, one I'm really excited, and we'll see what you think. The number is 0.5. The question is this: how many times will any player do finger guns at some point during this game? I take the over, and I hope it's not. I hope not Buddy Hield. Like I hope it's maybe even Kerr. Somebody from the Warriors tries to get Ja to like bait him into some kind of finger gun celebration. So I'm taking the over. What do you think, dude? Where are you at on this one?
Uh, I mean, they called a warning last time. Ujai hasn't done it since. We'll see. I don't know.
We have
You almost got
there,
me again.
it's exactly right. There's this ongoing kind of like pseudo standing joke and battle between you and I, where you have an amazing ability because you won't just tell me "fuck you, Bram." I'm not going to give you a fucking prediction, but so you actually talk long enough where it makes me feel like, oh, did he give me an answer? But you don't. You talk around and then you move on to the next one. So nicely played. You did it to me
I
again.
appreciate you.
Uh, Biggest reason the Warriors can win. Give me some optimism.
Memphis is like they've fallen off the second half of the season. Their defense I mean, they can scramble their defense. They move the ball. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, they should be able to get great looks, and they're going to be at home. They have they're an experienced team. They now have Jimmy Butler for situations like this, and flatly just better, right? Like they've just been as presently constructed are a better basketball team than Memphis
Yep.
based on the sample size that we have. The issue, of course, is one game, right? One game, again, 3-point shooting variance. Anything can happen. They've been in the spot against the Grizzlies team, again, different iterations, but 4 years
Yes.
ago and came up short. So that's certainly on the table. But again, if the Warriors are going to make it, are the championship contender that they hope to be, this is a spot where you gotta take
That's
care
exactly
of
right.
business and handle business. Veteran team, no messing around. Let's see what they got. Right, see if they can get into a series with Houston, a younger Houston team, and then go from there. So yeah,
This is it.
they're favored, right? Like they're 6.5 point favorite. Last I saw, it's a game that they are positioned to win. They've played. They're 3-1 against Memphis. They won in Memphis. We saw the styles again. One game situation, maybe a little different, but yeah, they should. They're in a position to get it done.
Fuck, that number is high. It makes me feel kind of nervous. So here, I'm gonna smash them together.
Yeah,
Biggest reasons they can lose, and you nailed it, Sam. I'm basically just paraphrasing what you said. Biggest reason they lose is it's a one off. Anything can happen in a one off. That's why March
and,
Madness is so excited. Like it is what it is. If somebody gets hot,
yeah,
it's a dangerous thing, and they have talent. Ja can
yeah.
get hot. I mean that it's a scary deal. So is it a shoe in? No. Why can they win? Exactly what you said. Um, Courage of my convictions. I have said I believe in this team's championship pedigree, that they have a real puncher's chance. And if I believe that, and they are now literally with their back against the wall, because nobody wants to be in a second fucking playing game. Nobody, you
No,
don't want to
for
get close
sure.
to that. You don't want to get closer.
No,
And so if you have this veteran team in a situation where they know they have to win, what's the biggest reason I think they can win? I think they know that, and I think they pull it off. I really do. But I'd be lying to you to tell you that I'm not nervous. Here's our last prediction where you can talk me around and then not actually give me one. Who wins the game? If I had to bet it, 6.5 is high. I wouldn't get anywhere close to that line. That makes me nervous. But a money line, I take the Warriors. If I had to put something significant to me down, a mortgage payment, it goes on Golden State. And so we'll see. What do you think, Sam? What's your prediction?
I think it's I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great game. The Warriors played. They played well on Sunday. They played well, right? They in a big kind of similar, do or die spot for relative to where they were at that point in the season. All these games get bigger and bigger successively as they come, right? That's just the nature of this time of the year. Against the Clippers team that's rolling, they were right there down the stretch. They were up 4 with 2 minutes to go, and probably should have closed that game out at home and didn't. You credit the Clippers. You try and execute better next time, and you move forward. So, I think the Warriors at their very best is better than Memphis at their very best. And if we get both of those tomorrow, then Golden State should be moving on. That being said, is Golden State going to play its best? We'll see. Gets decided in
Wow.
between the lines.
You are getting better at this as like our time together goes on. That was like a master class and like giving me just enough. Like I realized I feel like, oh, that was a phenomenal answer. And I'm not positive what you think is definitely going to happen. I think the thing that hurt me the most, that is concerning me the most about the loss against the Clippers, and then we just move on. This will be the last thing I say about it, and hopefully it'll be the last time we ever think about it. But that we did get playoff Jim. He
Yeah.
plays 48 minutes. We got as much as you could ask for from him, and then they still come up short. There's something that makes me uncomfortable about it. There's a real
Yeah.
disappointment associated with it. But Shit happens. It's one game, and maybe Sam, we'll be looking back, and we'll be celebrating a 2025 championship, and we will highlight. You know what was really important? That we got to play Houston at first. You know that like that's the path that we needed it to go, and so maybe this is all part of the story. And this is what was meant to be, but we'll find out. We'll know, and
Yeah,
we'll know the first step of that in less than 24 hours here. Appreciate you, man. We missed you. I hope
appreciate
will
you having me.
this if they're competent enough and lucky enough to move on. Remind me, will this be your first playoff run that you're covering?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, it
Oh,
will be.
yes.
Yep, it was
So you
just
got some real stakes in this, man. So like you, I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
that's
I imagine you really want to see it.
an NBA playoff run journalistically is not an experience that I've had. So
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
All right. Well,
see what
then
happens.
I'll be rooting for you too. I am. I look forward to every time we have you on. I look for when you and I text and the three little dots point up or pop up. I look forward to what you're saying there. So I really
Well, thank you,
appreciate you
man.
coming in here. Of course, I know that your insight isn't valuable to just me. For people who would like far more Sam Gordon in their life, where do they go?
sfchronicle.com. And I'm on X. I still call it Twitter, but I guess it's technically X. At by Sam Gordon. I think that's my, I had a blue sky, but I've never really used it. So I don't even know what my handle is. But I'm on there too. Maybe I'll eventually start using it. But yeah, I'm on Twitter at by Sam Gordon and then sfchronicle.com. We got our preview of the Grizzlies Warriors game up this afternoon. So just looking at just different personnel things and possible game, matchups and key factors that could, play a role in determining the game tomorrow night. It's going to be a great one. And look, the Warriors are at home, right? This is you take a look at where they were at in February, and this is something that they were kind of leaning on, to a certain degree on Sunday. You take a look at where they're at in February, under 500, had a 13-23 stretch.
Right.
Chase Center was dead. That's not the
Yep.
case anymore. It's going to be rocking on Tuesday night. It was rocking on Sunday night. The meaningful basketball was kind of the term, the catchphrase that
Yep.
has been being used around the Warriors. Meaningful basketball. So again, disappointment that they lost on Sunday, but this is another opportunity. So it's going to be a great game. Looking forward to it, and you can read about it at sfchronicle.com. Very much
Here we
appreciate you.
go. Here we go. I don't mind telling you I've been reading that Chronicle. In fact, I do. I'm not going to tell you for how long because I don't want people to know how old I am. So I'll just keep that to myself. I will tell you that having read is the amount of beat writers that I have read on my favorite team. Sam, you have already elevated yourself to one of my favorites.
Well,
And
I appreciate you.
if I wanted, I'm not above ass kissing, as you and I both know. But if I really just wanted to kiss your ass, I would have done that in the beginning. It would have been part of like the intro because then I could have gotten some benefit from it. So no, I genuinely mean it. With that in mind, nothing to pimp out on our side. If you're looking for us, you can find me probably receiving therapy in preparation for the nerves I'll be feeling going into the playing game tomorrow. With that in mind, go Warriors, and hopefully we'll see you real soon.